What? What's going on? Good afternoon. This is Jim McKay. I don't know what you're doing on this Easter Saturday afternoon, but in Greenville, South Carolina, a capacity crowd of about 15,000 people is about to watch the Grand National 100-mile NASCAR stock car race. The pictures you're watching are live. What you see is happening right now, and so it will be from the green flag that starts the race to the checkered flag that marks the finish. Greenville-Pickens Speedway, as it's called, is a half-mile track paved with asphalt just a year ago. It's the kind of place where stock car racing started back in the days when the moonshiners first brought their high-powered cars to race against each other. Well, the sport has changed tremendously, and here are the cars in the first two rows. Winning the pole position was car number 17, driven by David Pearson, a three-time NASCAR champion. And right alongside of him in the red number 71 will be Bobby Isaac, who is the current NASCAR champion from the season of 1970. In the second row, car number 72, appropriately yellow, is driven by a former cab driver from Detroit, Benny Parsons, and here comes the green flag. Alongside him is Richard Petty in number 43. The biggest name in stock car racing, Petty. David Pearson trying to hold on to the lead. Isaac right alongside him, but it's David Pearson taking the lead as they go into the backstretch for the first time. It will be 200 laps of this half-mile track, 100 miles. Isaac right on the rear bumper of David Pearson. In third place is Benny Parsons. Richard Petty having trouble holding on to his fourth place that he had on the start. Right alongside him is Bobby Allison in car number 12. With me in the booth is Chrissy Katamaki. And Chris, Richard Petty's had a little trouble, dropped back to sixth place.
He's forced into the outside groove, Jim, and this is sort of a one-groove racetrack, at least until some rubber gets laid down. Now he's dropped back to fifth place, being pressured by the Neil Castles, and Bill Dennis was up there, too, the Rookie of the Year in NASCAR last season.
Okay, meanwhile, back up on front, it is David Pearson, still in first place. Bobby Isaac second. Benny Parsons in number 72 is third, and Bobby Allison in number 12 is fourth. In fifth place is number 90. That's Bill Dennis, who was named the Rookie of the Year last season in NASCAR. And then comes Richard Petty. So, it looks like an interesting afternoon. We'll be hearing periodic reports from the pits from Ken Squire, who is our man down there this afternoon. I'd like to welcome him to our Wide World of Sports motor racing reporting team. There's Benny Parsons, number 72. Remember, he's in third place, being pushed by Bobby Allison. Then comes Neil Castles. But up in front, it's still David Pearson with Bobby Isaac pushing him very closely. Isaac set up there for a moment as if he might try to make a pass.
Pearson has gone to a 1968 engine in this 1974, Jim. It's the 427 tunnel port engine, the economy model. It's the same kind of an engine people on ABC Wide World or ABC Sunday saw win the Atlanta 500.
The car in the pits, it's Ray Williams, car number 47, not figured to be one of the top contenders. But there are the leaders. David Pearson, immediately followed by Bobby Isaac. Remember, a three-time NASCAR champion, followed by the defending NASCAR champion. So it could be quite an afternoon.
They're going to be moving into traffic soon.
Reminder that today's Grand National Stock Car Race on ABC's Wide World of Sports is being brought to you by Mercury, where better ideas make better cars. It's as simple as that. Mercury makes better cars at the sign of the cat. By Roytan Falcon, cigars with the rich, mild taste. And by Sears Tire and Auto Centers, where you'll find die-hard batteries and a complete line of quality tires. Now we have a car stalled in turn 2. Car number 46, Roy Mayne, and so the yellow flag has come out for the first time today. No accident, he's just spun out and has stopped. It's kind of a problem for a fellow to get out of his car, huh?
There's not much room. This is a rather narrow, a fine half-mile racetrack here in Greenville, South Carolina, that for many years was an excellent clay track. And last year they coated the surface with asphalt, eliminating whatever dust problems there may have been and upping the speed. Pearson's qualifying time of 21.803 seconds on the track, Jim, constituted a new one-lap record today of 82.4 miles an hour.
Okay, under the yellow flag, the one car has come into the pits. However, we'll be back here in a minute in plenty of time to resume the action.
Hey, lady, would you mind getting that pumpkin out of my parking space?
Just hold on, buddy. I got mouse troubles. Like a dummy, I listen to my fairy godmother, and I wind up in the middle of the street riding a vegetable.
You go to single dances, that's what happens.
Yeah, I even lost my glass sneaker.
All right, everybody out. Let's move. Ugh. Watch it, fella.
Thanks.
You're Cinderella, aren't you?
Yeah?
I thought so. You know, a smart girl like you should get a job as a Hertz girl.
The only job I ever had was cleaning for my rotten stepsisters.
I know. I read the story. You could do it, though. You'd look great in a Hertz outfit. Besides, we train you to rent Fords and Mercurys, help people out. You might even get to meet a king.
A king? That's hard to believe.
Would you believe a prince?
I don't think so.
How about a salesman from Pittsburgh?
If you've ever been treated like a prince at a Hertz counter, now you know why.
We're back again, reporting to you live from Greenville-Pickens Speedway in Greenville, South Carolina. This is Jim McKay with Chrissy Kanamaki and Ken Squire, and they're getting his car restarted finally. It's Roy Mayne who caused the yellow flag here. The yellow flag's still out. We're in the early laps of what is a scheduled 100-mile or 200-lap race. The tow truck out there apparently is not going to have any business now that Mayne has gotten his car restarted. Wendell Scott, car number 34, came into the pits, has obviously an engine problem. The hood is up, so could be one car's out of it already. And another one, number 32, Marv Acton, also in. There is Wendell Scott, who is the only Negro driver, or has been for many years, on the NASCAR circuit.
Tough break for Wendell going out so early, Jim. 26 cars on the track, or started the race. And the track for half-mile ovals is a little difficult to drive because the straightaways are rather long and the turns quite sharp. Many half-mile tracks have shorter straightaways and wide sweeping turns. Marv Acton, the Porterville, California driver in a Dodge carrying number 32, is out of the competition.
Okay, looks like they're going to give them at least one more lap. One more before they get going again. Still in the early going, 13 laps going by. Coming into the pits now is Bill Dennis, Rookie of the Year last season.
You sort of wonder why fellows have to make pit stops with the race not even 10 laps old. He's coming back out, but he is going to have to go past many, many cars to get back up to the position he enjoyed a moment ago. And what he did there was just have a consultation with his mechanics. It'd be interesting to know what the dialogue was.
Bill Dennis of Richmond, Virginia, who apparently is going to be one of the coming names in the sport of stock car racing. Wendell Scott backing his car. Wendell Scott's going to get back in the race, too, it looks like. And now the pace car is off the track. We're getting the green flag. It's racing again at Greenville. David Pearson is the leader. They're going to be passing Wendell Scott as he comes out of the pits. But there is number 17, David Pearson, in first place. Bobby Isaac is still second. Benny Parsons is third in car number 72. Bobby Allison is fourth, and Richard Petty has moved into fifth place now. Very tight on these turns, Chris.
Extremely tight, and it means that the tires are going to get a workout today, too. But Isaac is not about to let Pearson pull away. He's hanging right there. Pearson cannot afford to make a single mistake.
Pearson setting up a little bit, trying to get on the inside. The inside, according to most of the drivers, is the place you want to pass here. But as you can see, it's very, very difficult to get by anybody. There's only one groove basically going through those turns. So you got to try to get them on the straightaway, and the straightaway is only about a good par 3 hole. So it's tough.
The problem, Jim, is once one gets to the turn, they can't race outside their rival. They must line up behind him or else push him out of the groove. That's what Isaac is trying to do now. Nuzzle underneath Pearson and get him out of position going in, perhaps to turn one, and he might just do it this time.
They're going to pass a slower car again, driven by Ben Arnold.
Not giving him room, you see, and there's a little fender bending there.
And Ben Arnold in the way, going very slow, but both of them manage to maintain position as they go by. Pearson the leader, Bobby Isaac second. And remember that Benny Parsons in third place is about 20 feet behind, and the others are right on his heels, Bobby Allison and Richard Petty and Richard Brooks.
Well, they almost played Wrinkle-Fender at better than 80 miles an hour, Jim. About 95 on the straightaways and in the 70s through the corners.
That's a good point. The fact that the speeds here are tremendously slower than they would be on one of the great super speedways, as they're called. But on the other hand, remember, you and I can go a lot faster on a turnpike than we can on a winding country road, but the winding country road may still be tougher. And again, we're back on front. Pearson and Isaac.
We have a Ford and a Dodge holding the number 1 and number 2 positions, with a Ford in 3rd place and a Dodge 4th.
Okay, well, those 2 lead cars are beginning to move out just a little bit from 3rd place Benny Parsons and from Bobby Allison, who's 4th, and Richard Petty has dropped back a little bit again in 5th place. There is Richard Petty on the left of your screen.
Dick
just
Brooks.
Behind him, Richard Brooks.
Right behind him in a car that is almost identical, with the exception of the number to that driven by Bobby Allison. And now
Isaac up in front is going to make a move. There it is, right alongside. Great racing, right alongside David Pearson. Looks like he's got him this time. But Pearson's fighting back. Right side by side, or as they say in the stock cars, dough handle to dough handle.
Well, it's a little football expression applies here, Jim. Bump and run.
Okay. Crowd really loving this as Bobby Isaac takes the lead. Now, Bobby has won the last 3 races that have been contested on this half-mile track at Greenville, including the first one on an asphalt surface that was contested last June. Remember, this track was just paved last year. Used to be a dirt track.
This, you might say, Jim, is Pearson's home track. He lives some 25 miles away in Spartanburg, and a lot of hometown fans are here hoping to see him take the checkered flag first.
But it's Bobby Isaac in the lead, and now David Pearson is second. The defending NASCAR champion, leading the 3-time NASCAR champion. Only 2 men have won the NASCAR title 3 times. That's David Pearson, who's in second place here in car number 17, and Lee Petty, the father of Richard Petty, who now is running back in about 5th place.
Yeah, Isaac has been picking and choosing his races, Jim, and as of last night, did not plan to compete here. He was told this morning to get down to Greenville and run. The car is kept up near Charlotte, and he was a post-entry. He had to pay double entry fee. Rather than $50, he had to pay $100. And should he win, he will get no points counting toward the national championship because he is a post-entry.
But he will get points counting towards his bank account. He gets the money if he wins.
That's right. The money will be his.
Okay, now back again to take a look at Richard Petty in 5th place, because we want to keep an eye on him as the afternoon goes by. As big a name in his sport as Joe Namath is in pro football or Arnold Palmer in golf. He's in 6th place at the moment. Richard Brooks has passed him. That's Dick Brooks in the red and gold car.
Dave Marcus in the number 2 car is giving Petty a run for the money. Marcus is a Wisconsin driver. He's from Wausau, and he's trying to make it big in the Southern Stock Car Circuit. And when you can go past Richard Petty, you've done that job partially at any rate. And there he goes. By him on the main straightaway.
Our number 2, Dave Marcis, and there is Richard Petty right alongside him. It looks like Dave's going to be able to take him. I wonder if Richard might be having some problems with the car. It doesn't look like a Richard Petty drive so far.
Well, I'm sure that when he makes his pit stop, and everyone will have to make at least one for gas, there'll be some adjustments made that will rectify whatever handling problem Richard is now having.
Remember, what you're watching is a race for 6th place. It's the closest race on the track right now. Obviously, we're keeping track of the leaders. If anything happens up there, we'll show it to you. But you see Richard Petty dropping back to 7th place. He started in 4th.
Number 49 car is driven by Ed Negre in place of its usual driver, G.C. Spencer.
Okay, and so it goes on with some 22 laps going by out of a scheduled 200, and we shall return after a message that you'll be seeing.
With you, it was love at first sight. The thing I like most about you is that I can take you any place. I'm so proud to be with you. We go together. People stare at us. I just love being seen with you. Even just having you around gives me a lot of pleasure. Your long, lean, willowy shape, you make me feel like a man should feel. Real. Your scent, your looks really do a lot for me. And you're not like some of them. I don't have to spend a lot of money on you. You're not extravagant. Royd's hand, that just aren't enough words to describe you. rich, mild taste. What else can I say? Roy Tan Falcon, if you could only cook.
On this Easter Saturday afternoon, you're watching a live automobile race from Greenville, South Carolina, a NASCAR stock car race. 100 miles, that's 200 laps of this half-mile track. Jim McKay reporting here with Chrissy Kanamaki and Ken Squire, who is down in the pits for us today. There is the leader, Bobby Isaac of Catawba, North Carolina, the current NASCAR Grand National Champion. Ken Squire talked to him a little bit before the race about the differences between these little tracks and the super speedways. Let's take a listen to that.
Bobby Isaac, take 3. Bobby, is a short track race such as a Greenville-Pickens 200 today more difficult on you than a super speedway race?
Well, it's more difficult because of the short period of time that you run. Like a driver kind of gears himself for a 500-mile race. He's give out at the end of 500 miles. If it's a 100-mile race, he sets himself for 100 miles. And at the end of a 100-mile race, he's just as give out as he is at the 500-mile race. I would say that as far as physical problem on the driver, it isn't any difference.
Okay, the words of Bobby Isaac just before this race started, and there he is in his race car as you continue to watch the live pictures from South Carolina. It is, by the way, just about a perfect spring day. There literally is not a cloud, not a sign of even a white puff in the sky. The temperature is in the mid-70s. Perfect for going to a race, perfect for racing.
A great number of the local racing gentry is here today, too, Jim. A fine crowd.
Isaac has now stretched his lead to about 2 seconds over David Pearson in second place. Remember that he was the second fastest qualifier. Pearson had the lead on the first few laps, then Isaac took him, and now is really beginning to stretch it out. He seems to like this race course. As we said, he's won the last 3 races that have been contested here, 2 on the dirt and 1 on asphalt. Now here we have 2 teammates battling it out. Back there, Bobby Allison in car number 12 and Richard Brooks in car number 22, battling for 4th place in the race, but very much in contention.
You might think you're seeing double. One carries a number 12, the other carries a number 22, and the numbers are gold metal on the red paint job, and each car has a gold top.
Here's a question for you as an expert, Chris. Is there anything they can do as teammates to help each other?
Well, not in this position. They're fighting for that particular spot. Not really. They just might be a little easier on one another under the present circumstances.
Were this a faster track, they might be able to draft a little on each other, something like that.
Right. Rather than trying to shake a draft, you might be able to assist your teammate in going for the draft. And Dave Marcus is in there trying to put a lap on them, and it's...
well, he's not putting a lap on him yet,
no,
but trying to move ahead of him. And Marcus, the Wisconsin chap, has now moved ahead of Bobby Allison and is going after the other member of the team, Richard Brooks. But there's the leader again, Bobby Isaac, the gentleman from Catawba.
You know, Petty's car not performing up to snuff is a surprise, because in the 10 NASCAR races that have been run to date, he has won 5 of them. He is batting .500 and is well in the lead for what will be another NASCAR championship. And his Thursday night, look at that. Thursday night, Petty won at Columbia, South Carolina, pushing his prize money over $100,000.
And there is Richard Petty. Running back in the pack now, remember. He's in 7th place. Meanwhile, Dave Marcus in car number 2 has moved into 4th position in the race. This sport has certainly changed. We mentioned at the beginning that it started with the moonshiners coming down with their fast cars. They used to flee the revenuers in and racing each other on these small tracks. And here today you have Richard Petty, who already this year has won more than $100,000 in stock car racing. And we were talking to some of the fellows in the pits this morning. Charlie Glotzbach is leaving here right after the race in his own twin-engine airplane. Leroy Yarborough said he was golfing yesterday afternoon. Things are changing down here, Chris, in this sport.
Leroy, incidentally, was the second alternate for today's race. He did not qualify fast enough to make the field, which is remarkable.
Maybe he can go play golf then. Okay, the leader is still Bobby Isaac. And again, we'll return to Greenville, South Carolina in a minute.
I took a ride in 2 cars this morning, and first one was the Mercury, and the second was...
This January, 100 people compared the ride of a medium-priced Mercury Marquis to a $26,000 European touring car.
I was blindfolded and had gloves on, so I couldn't tell what the cars were.
Another 100 compared Mercury to a $16,000 limousine.
The second car, the Mercury, definitely is the better of the two cars. I noticed the ride and the quietness especially.
The official results from the Nationwide Consumer Testing Institute shows the vast majority rated Mercury's ride superior.
It's a much better ride. It's a quieter ride. Smoother. The Mercury.
It glides. You go around corners, it's a nice, firm feeling.
I think it opens up everyone's eyes. I mean, it really does.
Sometimes a blindfold can open your eyes.
Better ideas make better cars.
At the sign of the cat.
We return to our live coverage of the 100-mile NASCAR stock car race in Greenville, South Carolina. The leader is Bobby Isaac in the red car, number 71. And he has at the moment what you would consider a comfortable lead of, 3 or 4 seconds over David Pearson in second place. Right now, however, a battle for seventh. That's Richard Petty in car number 43 being chased by James Hilton of Inman, South Carolina, who last year was a top contender for the NASCAR championship until his car was wrecked very late in the year.
Last year, Jim, Hilton was one of only 2 new winners on the entire NASCAR circuit of 46 races. Hilton won 1 race and Pete Hamilton won 3, and they were the only drivers to crack the establishment's victory scheme.
We keep referring to the NASCAR championship, and so far this year, by the way, Richard Petty, who's in that car number 43, is the leader. He's not only won $100,000, but he's the leader on points with James Hilton in second place. There is the leader lapping a slower car, Bobby Isaac, and he's moving up very close on the heels of Richard Petty and James Hilton. In fact, he'll be trying to put a lap on them pretty soon. So soon there could be only 6 cars on the same lap. We have 9 on the same lap right now.
Well, this is something one rarely sees, Jim. The leader is about to put a lap on James Hilton and then Richard Petty. When Richard Petty falls a lap down this early in the going, something's really wrong.
That's news in the world of stock car racing, all right. Well, there's James Hilton being lapped. We'll stand by for the lapping of Richard Petty. There's only been 1 yellow flag so far in this race. If you've just joined us, it was a brief one and did not concern any accident of any consequence, just a car that spun and stopped in the middle of the race course. Nobody was hurt. And there is Richard Petty being lapped by Bobby Isaac. There will be at least a pit stop in this race, so we'll be seeing pit action before the day is done.
It's interesting to note that even though it's a 100-mile race, the 22-gallon fuel capacity allowed these cars is not enough to get the job done. And the drivers told me before the race that they're going to have to stop sometime after 50 miles or up to 150. They just will stop between 50 and 150 miles to get their gas, and if a yellow flag should fly in that period, that's when the pits will get crowded.
The race has now passed the 1/4 mark. We've gone more than 50 laps. They report that Wendell Scott is out of the race for good now in car number 34. He had trouble earlier with his engine, you remember. Bobby Isaac seems to be having no trouble with anything. Isn't it funny how the old saying of horses for courses seems to be true in automobile racing, too? There seem to be certain guys who can race so well on certain tracks, Chris.
Well, that's true. Isaac, the champion, has had all sorts of trouble on the big super speedways, Jim, but he's a demon on the short tracks. He really knows how to get around.
There's the second place car of David Pearson. He was the fastest qualifier with a new track record. We're on lap 55 right now of a scheduled 200. We're talking laps, remember, not miles. You have to cut it in half for miles because it's a half-mile track. This Grand National Stock Car Race, incidentally, is sanctioned, of course, by the National Association for Stock Car Racing. NASCAR continues to bring auto racing fans a most exciting schedule of stock car races. Grand National events coming up in the next few weeks as we look at the first 2 cars on the top and bottom of your screen. Events coming up in the next few weeks include the Gwynn Staley 400 from North Wilkesboro, North Carolina on April 18th, the Virginia 500 from Martinsville, Virginia on April 25th, the Rebel 400 from Darlington, South Carolina on May 2nd, and the Alabama 500 from Talladega, Alabama on May 16th, and we will be bringing you the Alabama 500 live from Talladega. However, Talladega and the surrounding area will be blacked out.
Jim, the speed at 50 laps was 72.955 miles an hour. Remember, we had a long slowdown shortly after the race started, so they're really motoring along here. Remember now, better than 90-some miles an hour on the straightaways and about in the 70s through the corners.
Okay, no current changes in the standings, but into the pits now is coming Bobby Allison in car number 12, one of the leaders in the pits. Bobby, one of the racing brothers from Hueytown, Alabama, his brother Donnie, not here today. There it is, Bobby Allison in the pits. And that is not a scheduled pit stop. It's a problem, and you see the hood is up.
He has had so much trouble, Bobby, this year with engines. He's a great chassis man, gets the car working well, and then something happens under the hood. In the meantime, the competitors whiz by.
Bobby Allison with about a 4-second lead now on David Pearson, who still remains in second place.
Allison gave up fourth place to come into the pits, Jim, and he's been in now better than 30 seconds.
By the way, the demise of Wendell Scott's car was a bit premature. He's back in the race, but he's 12 laps behind. And there is Richard Brooks, running in 5th place in the race, the teammate of Bobby Allison. Okay, and now we have the 2nd place car. David Pearson about to lap Richard Petty. Remember, he's already been lapped, has Richard, by the leader, Bobby Isaac. As Chris indicated, a most unaccustomed situation for Richard Petty, watching other race cars go by. James Hilton is also trying to pass Richard to move ahead of him into 7th position in the race, although they're both 1 lap down on the leaders. James Hilton in the yellow car, number 48. The drivers seem to like these races on the shorter tracks. There's a lot more action for them. Their interest is kept up. And Bobby Allison is being pushed, doesn't look like out of the race, but what do you think, Chris?
The car was overheating, Jim, and the way they're pushing it rather leisurely back there, I'm inclined to think he's had it for the day. Yep.
Okay, one of the leaders, Bobby Allison, being pushed way back into the pit, so it may be he is finished for this afternoon. Bobby Isaac remains the leader, and there he is in the red car, number 71. Last year's NASCAR champion. With a comfortable 4-second lead over David Pearson, who's in 2nd place. Stand by then for more live racing coming up.
The Baja 1000. 832 miles of rocks, ruts, and cactus. We matched a passenger car tire against the Baja. Sears steel-belted radials with flexible steel belts under the tread. They came in first in 3 classes and did it in record time. The same kind of tires that have gone over 70,000 miles on a car like yours. Sears steel-belted radial, the tire that beat the Baja. Only at Sears.
Indianapolis, 1970. How did it all start? It all started with Sears Die-Hard batteries. 25 out of the 33 cars at Indy were started by the Die-Hard, including the first 3 finishers. Get the Die-Hard. Sold only at Sears.
See Champion Auto Racers with Paul Newman April 18th in the special Once Upon a Wheel.
The picture is live, and the car is that of Richard Petty in the pits for a scheduled pit stop, the first of any of the lead cars to make their scheduled stop for today, in and out of the pits very quickly, and here you have to wait for a go-ahead to come out because it's kind of dangerous getting back on the racetrack. Richard was in a tight battle for 6th place. Now he's dropped back, but of course the others will have to make their pit stop too.
Jim, he was in the pits for 21.5 seconds, during which time he took on gas, took on right side tires, and they changed the chassis adjustment so the car will handle better, all in 21.5 seconds.
So apparently the chassis adjustment was the problem that he's having out there on the racetrack.
We should be able to tell now.
Okay, here's Bobby Isaac, who is still the leader in the race. In second place is David Pearson. Then Benny Parsons is third. Petty is now 3 laps down, but again, remember, the others will have to take their pit stops. Dave Marcus is fourth. Richard Brooks is fifth. One man who did not take the field today was one of the most famous stock car drivers, Leroy Yarborough, and Ken Squire is standing by with him in the pits right now. If you hear me, Ken, come on in.
Okay, Jim. Leroy Yarborough, who had some trouble today and didn't qualify, is going to be working with us down here in the pits. Richard Petty just seemed to be having suspension problems, like the tickets to start the race, Leroy.
Walk in. Actually, something happened to the motor. I'm not sure exactly what, but it started skipping. It acted like maybe I broke a valve or something, so we didn't make it.
Leroy, what about Richard's car, this pit stop that just took place?
Well, Richard motioned he was spinning the wheels like this, and Dale, his mechanic, put wedge in it, put some new tires on him, and sent him back out. So I think he'll probably start running a little bit better now. Back to Jim McKay.
Okay, thanks very much, Ken Squire, with Leroy Yarborough, who did not make the field today, and you just heard why. Also, his opinion on what might be the trouble with Richard Petty, so it's going to be interesting to follow Richard. There's the leader, though, of course, the most important car in the race at the moment, that of Bobby Isaac. I-S-A-A-C, and down here, they pronounce it Isaac most of the time. Now, here we have a battle for 6th place in the race between James Hilton in car number 48 and Charlie Glotzback in car number 38. Charlie Glotzback, he of the twin-engine plane waiting at a nearby airport to whisk him home after the race.
To Georgetown, Indiana.
So there's the battle for 6th place. Now, here we have the battle for 3rd place. There you see Benny Parsons at number 72, who's been 3rd since the start of the race, now being pushed by Dave Marcus, the Wisconsin fellow, who's really been moving up in this race. He started way back in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6th row, started in 12th position, and now he's battling for 3rd.
We wonder if Benny Parsons can rely on some of the tricks he learned as a Detroit taxi cab driver to ward off the oncoming Marcus.
Well, we'll see. Now, again, we're back to the battle for 6th. James Hilton.
And Charlie Glotzback
in the yellow car.
Number 38.
Charlie Glotzback on the right. Glotzback is from Indiana, but his accent, by the way, is just about as southern as everybody else in the race. As you must know, the vast proportion of these fellas are from the southern states, but as you can see, there's a...
He told me before the race, Jim, that the bullet in his right shoulder doesn't bother him at all. He got into a little bit of an altercation back home last year and was shot by an irate employee. One bullet was removed, the other was left in.
Should always be nice to your employees. Sounds. Okay, now there are the battles, you see. 48 and 38. Hilton and Glotzback. And behind them, the battle for 3rd. And those 2 cars battling for 3rd, Benny Parsons and Dave Marcus, also trying to put a lap on the 2 fellas battling for 6th. As you can see, there are battles and sub-battles and battles within battles in an automobile race.
In the meantime, Bobby Isaac patrols along, increasing his interval.
Boy, Bobby is really having an incident-free ride up to this point. And, of course, that helps the situation when you don't have to push that car too hard. A reminder that tomorrow at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, ABC Sports continues its exclusive coverage of the NBA professional basketball playoffs. You'll see the New York Knicks against the Baltimore Bullets from the Civic Center in Baltimore in game number 3 of this best-of-7 series. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, the Knicks, of course, leading by 2 games to none, but the Bullets on their home court will try to get back into it again. As for us, ourselves, we will return to you in a minute.
It's here. The natural hair control men have always wanted. New Command Dry and Natural.
Dry and natural, made for men.
Dry and natural. Never greasy, never perfumey, never messy. A clean, natural hold.
Dry and natural, made for men.
New Command Dry and Natural. Find it next to Command Hair Groomer and Command for Stubborn Hair.
To prove a point, I'm about to shave without using any water. Nothing to make my beard wet and soft, but this, Rise. I'm actually getting a clean shave. Must be the moisture in Rise. Rise seeps moisture into your beard and holds it there for as long as it takes you to shave. Now, if I can get a shave like this using Rise with no water, imagine what you can do using Rise with water.
The action is happening as you watch. It's live in Greenville, South Carolina. Bobby Isaac, the leader, a scheduled 200-lap race. 85 laps have now gone by. In second place is David Pearson, and in third place, but not by much, is Benny Parsons, trying to stay ahead of Dave Marcus. Richard Petty, whom we've been following from time to time, is way down in 11th place now, but he made a pit stop. Here's this battle for third. Number 72 is the former Detroit cab driver, Benny Parsons, and just behind him, the gentleman from Wisconsin, Dave Marcus. So here are two of the very few Northerners on the NASCAR circuit fighting with each other here.
Marcus's car is beginning to smoke when he backs off of the corners, Jim. You can see the smoke coming out of that car. We hope that this great competitor from Wisconsin isn't going to have engine troubles. He has a tough season with his engines. He's an independent and doesn't have much heavy financing, and there's no sponsor's name on this car.
Well, as we watch this battle for third place, why don't we bring in a brief conversation that Ken Squire had with Benny Parsons before the race began this afternoon. So you can watch the race there and listen up in the
Benny
corner.
Parsons, what about running a half-mile flat asphalt track like we have here at Greenville-Pickens?
Well, it's demanding, Ken. It's demanding on the chassis, on the engine, the driver, everything else. You've got to be able to get in the corner and get out. That's the chassis part of it. Once you get on the straightaway, you have to have an engine to carry you down the straightaway. Very demanding racetrack. We think we're about right. There's no way of telling until the race starts.
Okay, the words of Benny Parsons, who's in that yellow car number 72, and now we have moved into the pits, and it is Charlie Glutz back in there now.
And
that's a little more than routine. They're not moving too fast down there.
This is more than a routine pit stop, Jim. He's in trouble.
Okay, so Glotzback had been battling for sixth place, and you can scratch him from contention right now. Remember, all this while, that Bobby Isaac is out there cruising around by himself, having a nice time. Well, Charlie may get an early ride home in his airplane. Charlie Glotzback from Indiana. And there's the leader again, Bobby Isaac, car number 71. He now has just about a half-lap lead over the second-place car of David Pearson, number 17. Here's that battle for third, though. It really goes on, and this is real good racing on this tight little half-mile track. You can't pass on those turns. You've got to get them on the straightaway. And that's Benny Parsons in 72 being chased by Dave Marcus. Smoke or no smoke, Marcus really hang in there. Look at this.
And, you know, Jim, Benny is giving Marcus the room he needs. He's a real sportsman there. He's not driving at all like a cab driver today.
Would you like to count the letters you're going to get from cab drivers, or should we hire a few people to do that?
Well, since they raised the drop on the meter in New York City, I'm a little upset about cab drivers.
At any rate, that's Benny Parsons in car number 72, appropriately yellow from his cab driving days. Now you see the leader coming up on the third place car. He passed Marcus, has Bobby Isaac already. Now he's going to try to put a lap on Benny Parsons.
And now, if Marcus will try to follow Isaac past Parsons, Parsons will be given the move-over flag by starter Johnny Bruner to make way for the leader. And if Marcus can play his cards right, he can use that to his advantage. Let's watch.
Marcus just out of the picture, but there he is. You see, the blue car. Can he follow the leader through there? Has Chris set it up for you or not? Well, there goes the leader. And there's Marcus. He's going to try to do just that. Right alongside Benny Parsons. Parsons, you say, giving him room. Very sportsmanlike racing. And Marcus almost has it, but not quite.
They're racing.
Racing for third place. And Marcus has got him now. So, Dave Marcus, who started in 12th place, is now third. But remember, both he and the fourth place, Benny Parsons, are now one lap behind the leader, Bobby Isaac. So there are only two cars on the same lap. Isaac and David Pearson, who's about a half lap behind. One other reminder, however, these laps are not very long. They're only a half a mile.
And now, of course, the onus is going to lie with the pitmen, Jim, because every second is going to count when they stop for that necessary gas and perhaps right-side tires.
Pit stops are really going to be important here. we would repeat that there has only been one yellow flag. It came early in the race and was because of a brief spin out by Roy Mayne. There were no injuries, but the yellow flag came out briefly until his car was restarted, actually. It was not taken out of the race. There's the second place car. We haven't seen David Pearson for a while, but there he was, and there's the leader a half lap ahead of him. In 4 more laps, we'll be halfway through the race. There is, we might say, no threat of rain, apparently for months, because there's not a cloud to be seen. A beautiful spring afternoon on this Easter Saturday in Greenville. Okay, you saw Charlie Glotzback having problems there a while ago getting out of his car, and Ken Squire spoke to him a little bit earlier. Let's go down to that.
At 95 laps, 5 drivers have come out of the race with heating problems. The 5th was Charlie Glotzback. Charlie, just what has it been like out there this afternoon?
Well, the car was running pretty well, considered everything, but water temperature went up on it pretty high, so rather than cook the engine, well, we just brought it in.
Charlie Glotzback in Georgetown, Indiana, out less than halfway of the race. Bill Dennis, Bill Seifert have also retired early in the going with heating problems. Back to Jim McKay.
Okay, thanks very much, Ken. And there's Bobby Isaac going past the start-finish line at the halfway mark. That's 100 laps for the leader. And we have halfway in the race to go. 100 miles, remember, which is 200 laps on this track. A report on Richard Petty. He's not making up much of the time he had lost. Despite resetting the car, he's still 3 laps behind Isaac. There's the second place car on the bottom of your screen. David Pearson, a half lap behind Isaac.
Dave Marcus, Jim, is really moving in on Bobby Isaac now. He has found the groove and is cutting the interval sharply.
So Dave Marcus could be quite a story before this race is over. He could be challenging that man, the leader. That'll come a little bit later. Right now we're going to go away and then return.
When you fish for tuna, you watch. You wait, and you make ready. Then you spot them. Tuna! And you better get them while they're running, because you get no second chance. All the gusto in the world's out there, and now's the time to get it. You only get one crack at life, so you look for all the gusto you can. The life you live, the work you do, even in the beer you drink. When you're out of Schlitz, you're out of beer.
Again, we return to Greenville, South Carolina. NASCAR racing, coming your way live. Fine crowd on hand, about 15,000 people, biggest crowd they've had here in a while, and it's a perfect afternoon. Late afternoon racing. There's the second place car. David Pearson about to lap Richard Petty, who, as we've indicated a number of times, is having his problems today. He's 3 laps behind the leaders. And now we'll be 3 laps behind the second place car as Pearson goes on by. Or does he?
That adjustment that they made on Petty's car did not help too much, Jim. He hasn't able to show any superior speed since that visit to the pits.
Standings in the race for Bobby Isaac, a clear, easy leader over the second place car, David Pearson. And in third place, Dave Marcus of Wisconsin, who has moved up from 12th position in car number 2. He is not as yet challenging for second, but that could come along. The sun beginning to cast much more lengthy shadows as it begins to set. It doesn't look, from our vantage point, as if the sun is going to be too much of a problem in the driver's eyes here, Chris, despite the lateness of the day.
Coming off of turn 4 into the main straightaway, perhaps, later on.
Okay, well, there is the leader still cruising around. There's only 2 cars, remember, on the same lap at this point.
Speed, Jim, at halfway was 76.526 miles an hour, with Isaac leading Pearson, a Dodge over a Ford, 1 lap on the field.
There you see the crowd in the background with the young lady standing there. As we said, it's a good, big crowd here today and having a very pleasant afternoon. The amazing thing is that the practice started at 11 o'clock this morning which was 6 hours before race time, and there were a couple of thousand people here then. That's how much they like this sport down here. There's the leader, Bobby Isaac. Wide World of Sports visits the big cities and the small ones around the world. That's part of the purpose of our program. And here today we're seeing NASCAR stock car racing in its native habitat. This is really where it started, in these small tracks. And now we're getting an interval timing in seconds between the leader, Isaac, and the second place car, David Pearson. As you can see, that lead is getting to be quite a substantial one. As we continue to race under the green flag, there's only been one yellow all afternoon so far. 17.5 seconds is the difference between that car, number 17, in second place, and the leader, Bobby Isaac. Some great names in this area. I noticed on the way out today, we're about equidistant between a town called Travelers Rest and another one called Easley. But wasn't Easley the place where Curtis Turner landed his plane on the church parking lot that time?
Exactly, and they remembered for it, for that rather spectacular happening.
Ed Negre, number 49, you saw in the pits. Now again, there's Ed Negre's car. He was not in contention, not among the leaders at the time that he went in there. This is the car so far this afternoon. Bobby Isaac trying to win his 4th race in a row on this track. Reminder here that on Sunday, April 18th at 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time, ABC Television will present Once Upon a Wheel, a behind-the-scenes look at automobile racing, its excitement, and the men who are a part of this sport. Paul Newman will be the narrator and a participant. Once Upon a Wheel features champion race drivers Richard Petty, who's not doing too well here today, Leroy Yarborough, who's down in the pits with Ken Squire, Bobby Allison, who was a contender but is now out of the race here, Parnelli Jones, Jackie Stewart, and Dennis Holmes. Mario Andretti, Al and Bobby Unser, all of them featured on this Once Upon a Wheel show on Sunday, April 18th, 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time, here on ABC. And there is car number 49 back on the track. The difference between second and third place, by the way, Chris has gotten a report, is 10.5 seconds, so Marcus still has something to make up before he can catch Pearson, but could do it. 115 laps have gone by of a scheduled 200 laps. And remember, the racing is live. It's happening as you watch. There is the third place car of Dave Marcus, the fellow to watch, who's moved up from 12th to 3rd and is still going very, very well. We'll be back to Greenville in another minute.
Well, with Bobby Isaac well out there, this is Bob Kennedy live for Craftsman Eager Mowers. The power mower is totally designed for easy operating, starting with the lightweight magnesium housing, the extra large wheels for easy rolling, the simple height adjustment levers, and most important of all, the Craftsman Eager 1 engine. The Eager 1 is a low compression engine with plenty of reserve power and a totally different carburation system that needs no adjusting. So it starts easy, and it keeps starting easy for a long, long time. In fact, while it doesn't always start on the first pull, it does start often enough that I'm going to try to demonstrate that for you right here, right now, on live television. In fact, I'm getting so confident at it that I think I'll mark my column before I start the engine. Okay? These Craftsman mowers, and only the Craftsman mowers, are powered by the Eager 1 engine. They start. They cut grass and they last, and they're sold only at Sears.
Again, we're back to the race, and if some of the guys could get the cars working as well as the lawnmower, they'd be very happy today. Here's Bobby Isaac, the leader. And things may be deceptively tranquil looking at the moment. As we've said, Isaac has a good, comfortable lead over the second place car of Pearson. Pearson still has a pretty smooth lead over the third place car here of Dave Marcus. However, these cars are going to have to make a pit stop, and that should be coming up pretty soon.
Well, Jim, they're waiting, of course, for a yellow flag, but none of them are going to go beyond lap 150 without stopping. They'll run out of gas. And we're on about the 121st or 22nd lap now, so it should be pretty soon that we start seeing the contenders go to the pits.
Well, right now we're watching the leader trying to lap the second place car. If Bobby Isaac can get by David Pearson, and that's him right there, Isaac will be all by himself on that lap. Nobody will be on the same lap with him. On this half-mile racetrack in Greenville. It's a paved asphalt track. If you just joined us, it was just paved a year ago. It used to be a dirt track.
Conversely, Jim, if a yellow flag should come out now and the pace car get in front of Isaac, Pearson will have made up all of this deficit and tack on the back of the chain.
Okay, 120 laps have gone by. The standings at 120. Bobby Isaac the leader. And the car that he's trying to pass right now, David Pearson is in second place. Dave Marcus is third. Benny Parsons in number 72 is fourth. And Richard Brooks in car number 22 is fifth. And there he goes, Bobby Isaac, putting a lap, almost putting it on, and doing it now on the second place car, driven by David Pearson. So Isaac is all by himself, nobody on the same lap with him.
4 NASCAR championships represented there.
That's right, and again we will remind you there's only been one yellow flag in this entire race so far, very unusual on a tight little course like this. Only one yellow flag, and that was not for a serious accident. It was a car that just spun out very briefly and stopped in the middle of the race course and did get, in fact, restarted. Let's listen now to a...
Excuse me, Jim, they just signaled Pearson to pit. So Pearson will be coming into the pits in another lap or two.
Okay, so it looks like those pit stops we've been awaiting are going to be coming. There have been no pit stops by the leaders so far. We knew that one would have to happen. And now with 126 laps going by of 200, it looks like they're going to start doing it. There's the leader again going by. The one signal we did see was the signal to David Pearson to come in. He's the second place car.
Jim, they're concerned. They've got 2 signs out there, and they're shaking them at Pearson. They're afraid he's about out. They want him in, and they want him in now.
There it is, David, pit. Could be they're afraid he might run out of fuel out there.
Could very well be. You know, that's they're using that 427 engine, and they're winding it very tight.
See, normally in a race like this, they would be waiting for a yellow flag of some kind to be able to pit under the yellow and not lose any places in the race. But it looks like everybody's going to have to pit under the green, which, of course, is the most exciting kind of pit stop. The speed of the pit crews becomes extremely important. Now, there is David. It looks like he's slowing down. He's going to do it this time. He finally got the signal from his pit crew. You got to watch on him, Chris. Let's see how long this one takes. NASCAR pit crews, the most famous in the world for their speed. There they go.
Remember, now we time from the time the wheels stop until the time the wheels start again. Right side tires and fuel. No under the hood work, no oil, and no chassis adjustments. A little one-stop service there you get from your friendly service station.
Including the windshield wipes, if you notice. And now back out he comes again, 22 and 9/10 seconds, a good pit stop. And David was not held up getting out on the track. That also helped him a bit.
That's right. That was a good stop. Remember, Petty's stop was 21.5, 22.9. Not quite as fast as the Petty family, but not bad at all.
Okay, now, with that pit stop having been made, Isaac, of course, is still the leader, but Dave Marcus is now the second place car, number 2. However, Marcus, as well as Isaac, will have to make pit stops. But there's Marcus, who started 12th and has now moved up to second. There's some news from the pits. Let's go to Ken Squire.
In the pits, with me, Leroy Yarborough. And Leroy, we've got a situation developing here. If the race continues under green, the leader's having to pit. Petty could be right back in the lead lap with the rest of the field at the end.
He sure could, except I believe when Petty was spinning the wheels real bad, he got a lap down to Isaacs and also to...
Excuse me, Ken. Bobby Isaac is coming into the pits. We're going to take a look at him for a moment.
Bobby.
Here we are, Bobby Isaac, the leader in the pits. We had to cut away from the interview, and I hope Ken and Leroy will excuse us for that. But this is the big story. See how long it takes. Remember, David Pearson, the second place car, made it in 22 and 9/10 seconds. There is the screen, the safety screen on the left side of the car that they all carry. 22 flat, according to our clock, and he also gets out of the pits unimpeded. He was not held up because of traffic. So, Bobby Isaac is not going to lose any of his lead. There is Richard Petty trying to get by him, who is 3 laps down. And not succeeding. Bobby Isaac holding him off.
And now, guess who is leading?
And now Dave Marcus, in fact, right here, is the leader in the race. He must pit, no, remember, but for the moment at least, he has moved up from 12th place to 1st place, and we'll see how that story ensues in another minute.
Move on, Mark. Yo!
Hey, Bert, where are we camping tonight? I gotta start chow cooking. It's up on yonder bluff, Cookie, but you'll never get that pickup up there. Ain't even a road.
Well, I got a sawbuck that says this pickup will make it.
He don't know there's a 6-foot chasm at the top.
This is a 1971 Ford pickup, the rugged hauler, the one that works like a truck but rides like a car.
Go, baby, go.
That's because of Ford's twin I-beam front suspension, 2 axles instead of 1, that step over bumps independently. That means a smooth, car-like ride.
We did it!
All right, Cookie, you won. That Ford is too tough. I'm off to wrestle a grizzly and kiss me a pretty girl.
I hope you don't get it mixed up again.
Ford gives you better ideas.
Americans speak out on the National Polling Day special, Friday night.
Again, we return to Greenville, South Carolina, and there is the leader, Dave Marcus. Remember, he is the leader, we would assume, temporarily, because he has to pit, and all the other leaders have already made their pit stop in the race. But he did start 12th. He has moved up now to take the lead. Fellow from Wausau, Wisconsin, and here he comes into the pits.
You know, Jim, Dave from Wisconsin does not have a heavy team of well-drilled crewmen. These fellows are helping out from the area here, and we hope that his stop is on a par with the others that we've seen today. He's a great guy. He's never won in NASCAR competition.
They don't look like they're too slow at that. A real quick pit stop, 15.9.
That's the fastest of the stop. Look at him coming out of the pit gate. Whoa, it's a tight squeeze on the wall.
Okay, the pit stops go on, and the racing goes on at Greenville. Benny Parsons has been in the pits, and he's coming back out again. Remember, Benny has been in third place in the race, but Bobby Isaac, again now, is the leader, as he has been all afternoon. Bobby Isaac, the defending NASCAR champion. He won the Grand National Championship last year. Not leading money winner, remember, but the champion for the year on a point basis. And to win that point championship, you have to race on the small tracks as well as the big ones. And Bobby is the fellow who can do that. He can race on both kinds very easily. Very well. There's second place again, David Pearson. And Ken Squire had some words with David earlier that I think might prove interesting right now. Let's listen to that.
If you had your druthers, where would you rather go buy somebody on this track?
Well, if I had my druthers, I'd rather go by them on the inside, because I have run here quite a few times. And if you get on the outside, the groove is right against the rail on the inside. So, like I said, if I could have my druthers, I'd rather be on the inside then, because it is kind of hard to pass on the outside. In fact, it gets a little tight, and the racetrack seems like it's a little slick up high. So, I'd rather be on the inside anyway.
And there you have it, a complete rundown on David Pearson's druthers. If he had his druthers, that's what he'd rather do in many situations. Right now, he'd rather be ahead of this car, number 71, instead of being behind him in the race. I'm sure of that.
Well, a little bit of tragedy. Marcus' pit stop was accomplished in 15 and a fraction seconds through, of course, fast work by those friends of his, but also he took on only fuel. He did not change his right side tires. It is the only one of the contenders here that hasn't done that. And there, Isaac going by Benny Parsons, or is he?
Well, by taking that chance on the tires, of course, he gained about some 6 or 7 seconds on second place David Pearson, and he's only about 4 seconds behind him now.
you know, that move may not have been strategic on the part of Marcus, Jim. It could have been economic. He couldn't afford the tires.
Or maybe his amateur pit crew doesn't know how to do it, you know.
Oh, I doubt that.
Well, there he is right now, cruising along in third place behind Isaac and David Pearson. The official scores, and we will give you this now, the official scores now say that Benny Parsons is in second place. We don't believe that, and we may be wrong, but our unofficial standings still show it is number 71, Isaac, number 17, David Pearson. And we'll stick with that until proven wrong.
Well, they'll resolve that hopefully before too long and give us a confirmation, one or the other. At least we...
And, of course, we have number 2, Dave Marcus, in third place. So with those, the unofficial standings, Isaac, followed by Pearson, followed by Marcus. We're going to go away again for a message and come back.
When Sears set out to bring you a better tire, we designed all kinds of fiberglass tires and put them through all kinds of tests to find the ones that would stay stronger longer. We tested them for toughness. We tested them for mileage and came up with the tires that stayed stronger longer. Dynaglass tires with 2 fiberglass belts and a choice of 2 or 4 tough body plies. Dynaglass tires. Only at Sears.
Hey, Dad. I can see our car.
It's the bottom of the tent, huh?
Our lights are on.
One run will do it, Willie. My lights. I'll be right back.
The Sears Die Hard battery. Extra starting power to start your car when most batteries won't. The Die Hard. Sold only at Sears.
We're back again to the live race in Greenville, South Carolina. You can see the sun is beginning to set down here in Dixie as the leader continues to be Bobby Isaac of Catawba, North Carolina, defending NASCAR champion and winner of the last 3 races that have been conducted on this race course. Second place, as we have it, is David Pearson, and third place, Dave Marcus. We tell you again the official standings are saying right now that Benny Parsons is second. However, we'll stay with ours until that gets checked out. There is our second place car, David Pearson.
The James Hilton, the number 48, Jim, made a pit stop a bit ago and changed tires while he was in and got out in 19 3/10 seconds, which is the fastest of the stops where the tires have been changed so far today.
If you just happen to have joined us, so that's James Hilton right now, who is running up in the top 10, but not among the actual leaders at the moment. But this is a live race. It's coming to you from South Carolina. This is Jim McKay. Chris Economaki is the other voice you're hearing. Ken Squire is down in the pits. And this has been a rather incident-free race. There has not been an accident. There has been one yellow flag, and that was early in the going because of a car that spun briefly, sat in the middle of the race course, but nobody was hurt. It was an accident of no consequence, really, and didn't hold the race up very long. Everybody has made their one scheduled pit stop at this point. Bobby Isaac started in second position in the race alongside David Pearson, who had won the pole with a new track qualifying record. There's Dave Marcus, by the way, putting a lap on Richard Petty, who is having a very unproductive afternoon of racing, something that's very rare for that car number 43. Petty already this year having won more than $100,000 and being the NASCAR point leader. There are some of the people who've come from all over the South to take a look at this one, particularly from the Greenville-Spartanburg area. It's kind of an afternoon picnic. You have a lunch and have a real good time.
Those were the members of the scoring staff, Jim, checking the cars as they go by, the wives and girlfriends of the drivers in the race today, counting laps as they whiz by.
Well, we have now gotten the official from the scores, and it is as we had it all along. I mean, that sounds like we're gloating. We're not really. But it is the way we had it.
We've been watching.
Bobby Isaac is on a lap all by himself. Then, one lap down, in second place is David Pearson, followed by Dave Marcus. Now, Marcus is on the same lap with Pearson. They're in second and third place. Another lap down. There's Marcus trying to move up on Pearson. Another lap down, we have number 72, Benny, there's the second place car. Another lap down, 2 laps behind, we have Benny Parsons, whom they had in second place for a while, and car number 22, Richard Brooks. And now in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in 6th place is Richard Petty. He has been moving up quietly back there in the pack, but he is 3 laps behind. The difference between the second place David Pearson and the third place Marcus is now just 2.4 seconds. So Dave Marcus is having, I should think, the ride of his life so far.
It's been his biggest day so far. He's been up in other races, but something has always befallen him of an unfortunate nature before the checkered flag wave.
A quick reminder here, too, that 2 weeks from today, we're going to have a special 10th anniversary show on ABC's Wide World of Sports. We think it's going to be very good. We're going to show you many of the things that you've seen through the 10 years of our existence. We're going to show you those again, but also you're going to be seeing many people with little anecdotes, little behind-the-scenes stories that you have never heard before, including a couple from a fellow named Chrissy Kanamaki. So be with us 2 weeks from today at our regular time, 5 o'clock Eastern Time, 10th anniversary show, 5 o'clock, 4 Central Time. Now we get a lap time on the leader. Anything around 22 seconds is very fast on this racetrack, where, remember, the speeds are considerably slower than they'd be on one of the big wide-open super speedways.
Well, the track record going into today's racing was 21.864 seconds, Jim, and 82.327 miles an hour, set last year by Bobby Isaac right after the track was paved. And Pearson went around at 21.803. That's less than a second, an average of 82.4.
Okay, well, there was a problem there. We didn't get that lap timing on the leader, Bobby Isaac, but perhaps we'll pick him up in a couple of laps. There he is, breezing along with the slight spring breeze that is blowing here today. "165 laps have now gone by of a scheduled 200. Second place car of David Pearson once again. And Dave Marcus moving up on him, but not close enough to him to get him in the same picture for you yet. But just be aware of that Marcus is moving up, and we could have a battle for second before this day is done. As a matter of fact, there's just one car in between them. There's the leader. Okay, 22.5, the lap timing on Bobby Isaac is what we had. That's pretty fast at this stage of the race.
Not bad at all. There's a lot of cars out there, and in the qualifying, they had the track to themselves.
47 cars came here to try to qualify. Just 26 made the field. There is second place David Pearson moving by the slower car of Bill Champion, one of the oldest drivers on the circuit. And now moving by Neil Castles, whom you may remember catching on fire at Atlanta last Sunday on our special race series, championship racing. The standings once again, Isaac on a lap by himself, 1 lap down, Pearson and Marcus, who's still moving up on him, 2 laps down, Benny Parsons and Richard Brooks, 3 laps down, James Hilton, who has now moved ahead of Richard Petty again. So, we have set the leaders for you once again. There is no particular battle going on at this moment, so I think we can safely have another message.
Some people put their slacks through a lot of punishment. No problem when they're Hager Forever Press Plus slacks. These stylish Hager dress slacks of fine Dacron and wool can take almost anything. Stretch them, twist them, rough them up all you want. They still look sharp. Hager Forever Press Plus slacks of Dacron and wool. Permanently pressed. The most wrinkle-resistant dress slacks ever tailored. Just $14. Also at $14, a wide fashion selection of plaids and stripes, all pre-cupped and ready to wear. You'll like Hager Forever Press Plus slacks, even if you sleep in them. The only thing you'll wrinkle is the sheets.
Dave Marcus there in car number 2 is still chasing David Pearson, trying to catch up with him for second place in this 100-mile NASCAR race. You see the smoke coming from his car, but that's been happening as he's going through the turns for about 70, 80 laps now, so it doesn't seem to be bothering him any. Quick reminder as we watch Dave Marcus that next Saturday, Wide World of Sports is going to take you to Nagoya, Japan for the 1971 World Table Tennis Championships. That's a much more than usual interest this year because for the first time in quite a while, Red China has sent a team to compete with teams from the rest of the world. There's been page 1 news coming out of that. The Communist Chinese have been extremely friendly with the other teams and finally invited the Americans to come to Red China. So Right now, we can't tell you definitely, but we're trying very hard to follow the United States team to Peking this week. And should arrangements work out, we'll also include the U.S. Red China duel match next Saturday. It's the first time an American delegation's been inside Red China for 21 years, so. Also next week from the Daytona International Speedway, the Daytona 125 stock car race, another super speedway race for these NASCAR drivers. And all of that next Saturday on Wide World, 5, 4 Central Time.
Bobby Isaac has just put another lap on Dave Marcus, Jim, as we saw on the screen. He's running very well, and I'm a little worried about Dave and that smoking engine. It has been smoking a long time, but not to the degree that it is smoking now.
Also, he had been catching up on David Pearson. It looks now like he might be losing a little time to David. Although he's still about 3 or 4 seconds, that's all.
You know, Bobby Isaac told me before the race that he got a phone call this morning to come down here and race. Yesterday, he had not planned to race here, and now he's got better than a lap on the field.
Looks like it was a good idea. This, by the way, is the richest NASCAR race on a half-mile track they've ever had.
$20,600 in prize money, and the last place finisher, Jim, will get $625.
Looking at some numbers earlier today, Richard Petty did his first racing in 1958, and he won $750 for the year. Last year, he won almost $140,000, and this year he's already won more than $100,000.
You know, Jim, if Richard has a good year, he will be the first stock car driver in history to have won $1 million. He's getting right up there now, and his career earnings are $920-some thousand.
You can see that the shadows are beginning to lengthen here, quite literally, as the sun goes down, so the quality of the pictures they go into some of the turns may not be quite as good as it was. But it's going to get dark here soon, that's the reason. There's the leader threading his way through traffic, putting another lap on Neil Soapy Castles, and now trying to put another lap on second place, David Pearson, or will be here in a matter of moments. 173 laps gone by, 27 laps left in this race. And still, there's only been one yellow flag all day. Well, here's a little word from Augusta, Georgia, not too far away from here, I guess about 150 miles. At the end of the third round of the Masters Golf Tournament, Charles Coody is tied for the lead with guess who? Jack Nicklaus. The Bear is closing in, trying for the Grand Slam this year. He's already won the PGA. And he has announced that he's making a conscious effort to win all 4 of the big ones, PGA, the Masters, and then the other 2 that we'll be bringing you, the U.S. Open and the British Open. What a story that could be as the year goes on. But he's going to have to win it tomorrow. There is Isaac putting another lap on the second place car of David Pearson. He's now 2 laps ahead of the field.
And we saw Pearson just bump him a little bit as sort of a thank you in the turn.
Okay. There is Dave Marcus still valiantly trying to catch up with David Pearson, but that smoke may be his undoing before the day is done. Still running pretty well, however. On the subject of golf, remember, we also have the Tournament of Champions coming up very soon from La Costa in California. That's 2 weekends from now, as a matter of fact. Hope you'll be watching that one on ABC. Nicklaus will be there, and everybody who's won a PGA tournament during the last year.
It's Isaac, Jim, with a lap on the field. Pearson second with a lap on Marcus in the number 2 car, who was third. In 4th place now, the number 22 Dodge is Dick Brooks, with Benny Parsons in the number 72 Ford, having dropped to 5th. James Hilton in number 6th is number 40. There's Pitman is telling Benny, just as we're telling you, that he's in 5th place. Benny, you are 5th. That's the hieroglyphics. The Pitman is flashing Benny Parsons now. That's the method of communication between the men in the pits and the men in the car. In 7th place is Richard Petty, and in 8th place, in car number 39, is Friday Hassler, and Neil Castles in number 06 lies 9th here with less than 20 laps to go.
Barring amazing developments, Bobby Isaac is going to breeze to his 4th straight victory here in Greenville. And we'll be here to watch that victory as it unfolds. We'll be back here in another minute. "13 laps to go in the race.
grease on his head. He's gonna mess up my whole game. You gonna get it now, honey. You better get some of this and use it.
Natural Vitalis. It's greaseless. What happens inside your system to plain aspirin and bufferin? This illustrates most of bufferin with its extra speed is already going to your headache, when most of plain aspirin is still in your stomach. So with bufferin, there's less to upset your stomach when there's more pain reliever going to your headache. Bufferin, faster to your headache, better for your stomach.
Here is Bill Toomey, running in the footsteps of Jim Thorpe and Rafer Johnson and Bob Mathias, running in the cold and the dark of Mexico City, in the breathless air, winning the decathlon.
I was just one member of the 1968 Olympic team. You can take part in the 1972 games by helping send our team to Munich, Germany. Mail your contributions to the United States Olympic Committee, 57 Park Avenue, New York City, 10016.
Bobby Isaac apparently on his way to victory in Greenville. This is a live broadcast, and there are now 8 laps to go as he crosses the start-finish line. Only 8 laps, 4 miles, and Bobby Isaac will have wrapped up his 4th straight win on this track.
His 2-lap advantage sort of plays with his sponsor, an insurance company from Fort Wayne, Indiana. He's got a 2-lap insurance on his victory here right now.
Yes, he does, and it'll be now 7 laps to go. There's the second place car of David Pearson, who's a couple of laps behind now. There's third place, Dave Marcus, and just behind him, Richard Brooks in car number 22, and they're back on the same lap together now, so we have a real battle for third place between Marcus and Richard Brooks. They're right together. They're on the same lap. Brooks trying to move up to third. Marcus has slowed down a bit because of that smoke you saw, although now the smoke seems to have stopped.
He may
6
have
laps
burned
to go.
off all his oil, Jim. This would mean that the engine might just go between now and the time the checker weighs.
Okay, well, there is Richard Brooks trying to get by him, and could be looking like they're lashed together right now.
Yeah, there's a race going on, a little wrinkle fender.
Remember, this race is for third place and some good points in the NASCAR standings. Marcus trying to hold off Richard Brooks. 5 laps left in the race. There is the leader. He has less than 5 laps to go. Now back to the battle for third, and Brooks has moved ahead of Dave Marcus. So it looks like Richard Brooks may be able to finish third here. And now there are 4 laps to go. Running under a late afternoon slanting sun. Beautiful Easter Saturday day here, Greenville, South Carolina. And in a matter of seconds, there are going to be 3 laps to go. Here's Richard Brooks safely in third place now, behind Bobby Isaac and David Pearson. Pretty soon we're going to be seeing that white flag. Yes, Chris?
That's right. Marcus's car has slowed appreciably. James Hilton has passed it, but not for position. And Richard Petty is coming by him, too, but he has some cushion there. Petty's way back in 7th place. But Marcus's car is giving out now here, right near the end.
So he's trying to hold on to 4th place, having been passed by Richard Brooks. There is Marcus. Up on front, though, Bobby Isaac has less than 2 laps to go. Less than 2. There he is. And we can just kind of follow him home because it's going to be all over very soon. There's the white flag out now. There's the second place car. But the white flag has been given to Bobby Isaac, which means 1 lap to go. 1 more time around the half-mile track, and you're home free. Car number 71 will be the winner of this race. There's the second place car. But here it comes, the victory lap, the winning lap for Bobby Isaac of Catawba, North Carolina. Coming out of turn 4, headed for the checkered flag, and they're giving it to him now. It's all over. Bobby Isaac has won the 100-mile race in Greenville, South Carolina. Second place to David Pearson, third place to Richard Brooks, fourth place to Dave Marcus. And the crowd not heading for home. They're heading down to the fence to get a look at the car, to get a look at Victory Lane. And, of course, we'll be going down there, too.
That's a great big checkered flag Johnny Bruner Jr. is waving. A big crowd, perhaps one of the biggest in the track's history, something close to 15,000. And they did see a fine automobile race, Jim. A well-deserved victory for Bobby Isaac of Catawba, North Carolina.
Okay, we'll return here for a look at Victory Lane in a minute.
You start with an idea. It
grows into a business. The business means greater responsibilities. Management problems get more complex. You take on a partner, 2 partners, 3. Growth, expansion, change. John Hancock knows all about it from first-hand experience. That's why we know how to help you as you grow with stock redemption plans, key man coverage, cross-purchase agreements, or other complicated financial services that can help you manage the growth of your business. So no matter how large your business or how small, when you think of your growing insurance needs, think of your John Hancock man. His business is protecting yours.
John Hancock, huh?
Next Saturday, ABC's Wide World of Sports will take you to Nagoya, Japan for the 1971 World Table Tennis Championships. As we told you a while ago, for the first time in a good many years, Red China has sent a team to compete with teams from around the world. And also, we're attempting to follow the United States team to Peking this week. And should arrangements work out, we'll also include the U.S. Red China duel match next Saturday, the first American delegation to visit Red China since the Communists took over there some 21 years ago. So that's the World Table Tennis Championships. Additionally, next Saturday, from the Daytona International Speedway, will feature the Daytona 125 stock car race, another super speedway race for these NASCAR drivers. So be sure to join us for a most unusual show, I think, next Saturday on ABC's Wide World of Sports. There is Victory Lane. Ken Squire is down there. I can't see whether he has Bobby Isaac with him. Okay, Ken, go ahead.
Victory Lane, and it is a harmonious group around Bobby Isaac. Delighted to see him here, 4th time in a row, Bobby. Congratulations on a great run.
Well, thank you, Ken, and my car did work real good. I'll have to thank my crew, in the K&K Insurance Company for sending me down here, and Harry Hyde and the boys for setting the car up. They did a terrific job, put a good pit stop on me, and, I was able to keep my lead, and everything just seemed to go our way.
Did it ever miss a beat all day, Bobby Isaac?
Well, it really didn't, They tuned this 70 Dodge pretty good, and they had it tuned real good today.
Any problems out there at all?
Not really. Matter of fact, it was a little bit easier than I thought it would be. I figured that David Pearson and Richard Petty would run much better, but we came down here last year and backed off the truck and kind of dominated the race, and we came back pretty much the same way today, and just seems like that our car likes it better here than anywhere.
Bobby Isaac, you won 11 races last year, all on short tracks. Now you've taken your first short track victory of the season. Do you think it's going to continue from here?
Well, I sure hope it continues through, North Wilkesboro next week and Martinsville, Virginia the following week, because they're both 250-mile races and they're good paying races, and I'm looking forward to going there. Just hope I can run good.
Was it as hard on you as the super speedway today out here in the blistering sun?
Well, it sure was. Like I told you before, kind of geared myself for a race, and this was a 100-mile race, and I probably couldn't run 125.
Bobby Isaac, Catawba, North Carolina, winning his first Grand National victory of 1971. He does it at the Greenville-Pickens Speedway in style by just about a lap. Now back to Jim McKay.
Okay, thanks very much, Ken, and everybody trying to get a look at the winner here, a close-up look, as you just had. The winning speed for Bobby Isaac was 78.158 miles per hour, which is a new track record for here. He held the old one, the old race record of 75.345. And now let's run down the leaders for you. These are the official standings now. Well, thank you very much, Pickens County, the kind bunch of folks there. Youngsters holding that up for us. Bobby Isaac, the winner of the race. Second place going to David Pearson. Third place to Richard Brooks, who in the closing laps passed Dave Marcus. In fifth place was Benny Parsons. Sixth, James Hilton. In seventh place, the NASCAR current point leader for the year, Richard Petty, also the leading money winner. And behind him, Neil Soapy Castles. So that's the way the race went, and I think a more incident-free race I have seldom seen, Chris. There just was nothing. A very safe and well-driven race on a tight track.
An extremely well-driven race, Jim. The track is difficult. The straightaways are long, the turns sharp. The brakes were given a tremendous workout, and usually on a tight track like this, there are more spins. We saw one by Roy Mayne very early on the 8th lap, and was the only incident of the day.
Look, Ken, you hear me? I see you had David Pearson down there. Watch out for your words with him.
Sure will, Jim. David, John Bruner Sr., the chief steward, told you two fellows some explicit instructions about the start of the race, but I didn't think it was going to finish that way.
No, Bobby was running real strong. In fact, I was running real good to start the race, and I believe I broke a wrench or something in the rear end. I don't know what it was, but I just couldn't manage the car coming off a corner. I'd break loose, spinning.
You ran real strong at the beginning of the event, and you had a tremendous duel with Isaac. How did he finally pull by you?
Well, finally, I just kept getting loose and loose, and I couldn't run, and Isaac come up and just passed me and went right on. I just waved by it.
It was your day to be on the pole, however, and Bruner told you before the race began that it was your turn to be the boss in this kind of event. I imagine you feel kind of sorry it didn't finish up that way.
Well, I was the boss on the first lap, but that's just about it. I think I led about 20, 25, maybe 30 laps, but after that, the car started getting loose, and at the end of the race, I just couldn't run at all. I had to just back off and let him go.
Spartanburg, South Carolina's David Pearson, who started his racing on this speedway many years ago and finishes second to Bobby Isaac today in Grand National competition.
Okay, thanks very much. Ken Squire down in the pits with the second-place finisher. That's kind of eerie looking, isn't it? That's actually Chris Economaki and me through the window. We aren't really superimposed or anything. There, you see, there's our little monitor and an inside look at the world of TV. And now an outside look at the crowd beginning to make their way through the red clay country of South Carolina to their homes on Easter Saturday night, and then a nice day tomorrow, it would be hoped. It was a very pleasant day of racing, and it'll be back pretty soon to those Indianapolis cars, Chris, and then to the big Indianapolis 500 itself. It's going to be a great year of racing, isn't it?
Racing is going to have perhaps one of its best years, and I'd like to take this opportunity to wish all of our viewers the happiest of Easters tomorrow.
Okay, and if you wonder how people get here, they get here in every conceivable way. As you can see, there are pickup trucks, there are campers, and look, these people brought a very fancy arrangement, complete with their ladder. They have their tables and chairs and their picnic, and the whole family from what looks to be about age 2 all the way up to mom and dad, and very often grandma and grandpa. There is a look from the rear at Bobby Isaac being literally besieged by the fans to whom, down here, this is the biggest sport in the world. That's about the story from here. We told you that 2 weeks from today we're going to have our 10th anniversary show on ABC's Wide World of Sports, complete, by the way, with a brand new song written for the occasion. You'll hear the gentleman who wrote it singing.
10 years ago I boarded a plane to search in the world of sport.
The executive producer of ABC's Wide World of Sports is Roone Arledge. The Grand National Stock Car Race was produced by Ned Steckel and directed by Andy Sedaris. The production coordinator of Wide World of Sports is Dennis Lewin, and our program administrator, John Martin. The associate directors, Joe Assetti, Jim Jeanette, and Bernie Hoffman, and the technical directors, Vern Hendrickson and Bob Bernthal. Tomorrow at 2 Eastern Time, remember, we continue our coverage of the NBA playoffs as the New York Knicks meet the Baltimore Bullets in the third game of their series. Until next Saturday, when we feature the 1971 World Table Tennis Championships and the Daytona 125 Stock Car Race, this is Jim McKay with Chris Economaki and Ken Squire saying so long from South Carolina. Air travel arranged through and promotional fee paid by American Airlines. American has more 747s flying to more places in the United States than any other airline. It's good to know that you're on American. And again, remember, 2 weeks from today, you'll be hearing the song that's in the background right now as we bring you ABC's Wide World of Sports 10th anniversary show, a decade on the air. It's a long time, and we think you'll enjoy what you see on that April 24th program.
I think I've seen a plan. Men can shake hands and understand.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat. The human drama of athletic competition. This has been ABC's Wide World of Sports.